something that most people miss out and forget to ask for is plans and surveys. Okay, surveys are not always required. However, we always like to ask for them. So when doing your negotiations, always ask the agents if the seller has got plans for the property. This just makes it a little bit easier down the line. If you decide to sell the property in 10 years' time, you have the plans. If you decide to do any changes, if there are any council changes, if there are council rulings or whatever, you have the plans. It's always a good idea to have those on your database. So should you're required to do works in the future, it's great to have it in your toolkit. With regards to the surveys, you get two different types of surveys. You get the boundary surveys, which is relatively inexpensive, which would determine whether the property is encroaching on anybody else's property or whether perhaps your neighbor is encroaching on your piece of land. So your surveys, they survey the actual land and they survey the footprint of the building. The second type of survey they do would be an internal survey where they survey every single premise. So if you've got, let's say, 4 shops in a strip of shops and you own 2 and the neighbor owns 2, you can have the survey done to ensure that your shops are 100 square meters, and that is reflected on your leases, that your tenants are paying you cost per square meter for 100 square meters and not 90 square meters. Okay, so quite valuable to have that. And there, as I've said, it identifies encroachments and conflicts with neighbors, and it's all about gathering information about the property physical features, the presence of structures, topography, and natural resources. Surveys are often required for legal and financial transactions involving the property, and this is what I mentioned about the leases. Also buying and selling a property, getting a mortgage, obtaining building permits, and additional surveys can be used for research, for planning, for development purposes. Now, the cost of these surveys are generally in the region of $500 to around about $3,000. And it's very dependent on the state, and it's very dependent on what type of surveys you are requesting.